All right, guys. This is the first session for our Platform App Builder study group, and it's nice to see so many new faces. Those of you from Kansas City and Omaha, I'm really glad that you're participating with us on this. Carla and I are your hosts, and we both lead or co-lead the Des Moines user group. And last fall we did a study group for the admin certification, and we had such a good time doing that. We wanted to extend it to the platform app builder, and maybe sometime, maybe early next year, we might do the advanced admin as well. But it's been fun to do this. So what we have just a couple ground rules, and basically we're going to kind of follow the process similar to like what we did with the admin one. And that is the purpose of the study group, is just to assist you in learning the platform app builder exam. You don't have to take the certification exam if you don't want to. Obviously, that's a study group, so I'm hopeful that you will take the exam. If you do take it, I know, Matt, you're scheduled to take it, I think, before we're even finished with the study group. And so if you do take it before we're done, I hope that you'll come back and share with us how it went, and some of the lessons that you've learned throughout the exam. We do agree to participate in every meeting. If you can't make it, just let Carla or I know, and I'll make sure that you have our contact information so that you're able to shoot us an email or something, just so that we know who to expect and who not to. We do assign topics to each of you, and we do that in just a simple round robin type process. And so you will get an assignment. Carla and I have the assignments for today, and we'll go through and kind of show you, in essence, here's how we put these together, and we'll present on our topics today. If you wish to pass the exam, I do recommend that you continue to study outside of just the study group. The study group is great. I think we'll learn a lot together, but these exams, as you know, can be fairly difficult to master. So do take the time to study, just as if you would if you were doing it on your own. We are here to support and encourage each other. So I do encourage you to unless it's noisy in your environment, feel free to unmute yourself. Interact with us, interact with whoever is presenting. If you have questions about what they are sharing, then by all means ask questions. Carla and I both are certified on this particular topic, and Carla, I'll let you kind of share your information, but a little bit of history about me. I'm on the let's see, what do they call it, the architect journey. And so I have 15 certifications right now. It's been many, many years ago since I took this particular exam. So I don't know for sure what's on it from a question perspective. I certainly know the product very, very well, and hopefully can answer questions that you have, and hopefully answer them correctly. Well, that would be helpful. But it's kind of fun for me to do this because when we did the admin certification, it was fun to just go back and remember some of the things that we forget about so easily. So it's kind of fun to do it, and it's a good way of kind of challenging ourselves. Speaking maybe for you as well, Carla. It's just fun to do it. And so, Carla, introduce yourself real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm Carla. I've been working on the Salesforce platform for, I've lost count, 7 years. I have 6 certifications, and I too got, this one was my third certification, I think. I don't remember if I got the advanced admin first or this one first, but I can't remember. But it's been a while. I was just trying to remember actually earlier today. I'm like, gosh, did I take that like maybe 4 or 5 years ago? So I was trying to remember. Back then, it was the beginning of the Lightning rollout. And so I feel like my experience at that point was a little bit different than probably what it is today with everything that you can do with the app builder and all of that. So this is going to be fun, just like Terry said, to just revisit all of those things again But it is exciting, and it's exciting to celebrate with those two who have gone through the class before, like the admin class that we had, who have passed their exams. And so I'm hoping that we can at least provide some value to kind of get you on your journey to studying for this one. So I'd like to say I'm on the architect journey as well. I don't have nearly as many certifications as Terry does, but um, it is a pipe dream for me as well. Kind of on the I'm on the application architect journey at the moment, so I've got a couple more to go before I can reach that one. So it's exciting.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Carla.
Yeah.
We will have just some logistic information here. We will always use the same meeting link, so you can keep track of that. That will be what we will use every meeting. Meetings will be recorded and they will be posted. So if you miss a meeting, you will be able to catch up by watching the video. Those are stored out on my YouTube channel, and that will be available to you. You did also in the meeting invite receive a link to our shared drive. So we keep all of our PowerPoint presentations out on Google. And I encourage you, you don't have to, but I encourage you to, if you put a PowerPoint together for your presentation, that you put that out there where everybody's able to have access to it. And so that Google Drive will look something like this. It does have our contact information out there. This is the slideshow that we're currently looking at. And then what I wanted to show you is this particular spreadsheet that we put together. And so this is how we're breaking down the topics that we'll be going through. And this is coming straight off of the Salesforce's study guide. We've just taken and broken it into chunks that we can then use to assign to everybody. So as we mentioned before, Carl and I will cover the Salesforce fundamentals today. We're probably going to have to cut it pretty quick in order to get all three of them in today. But in general, each presentation we'll try to every week cover 3 of the assigned areas. So that gives you roughly 15-ish to 20 minutes to present on your given topic. One thing I will tell you, and that maybe a lesson learned from last time we did this, is last time I went through and assigned everybody to a topic, and over time we had some people either not able to make it, or they chose to, for whatever reason, to not continue in the group. And so I had to reshuffle these. So if you see your name out there on a topic that's a few weeks out, I wouldn't plan on that necessarily being the topic you're going to end up with. And it very well could change. So so I would say, so for next week, Tyler, Matt, and Scott, I hope that I've got all of you. Yep. These will be the topics that we will ask that you do a presentation on.
It looks like it's just Tyler and Matt, right?
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. I just have the 2.
I think it's because they're bigger sections.
That's right. You're right. So yes. So you'll have about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes to be able to present then on those 2. Thank you for catching that, Carla.
And don't be tied into that time. Like presenting for 30 minutes is a long time. So just try to cover the topic as best you can, and we can also have discussions too.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to feel like you have to be an expert on the topic. If you just come and say, here's the information that I know. I'm not sure about this particular area, but it seems like it's important. And just throw it out there so that we can all kind of just work together and help each other out. Yeah. I'm following a pattern that's very similar to the way I don't know if you've heard of the Ladies for Architects, that group. I've been on several study groups with them, and they follow this model. So I kind of took it from their piece. And there was a lot of times on some of those study groups where I had to present on topics that I just didn't know at all. And so I was always kind of like, I think this is how it works. And then everybody would kind of chime in and either confirm or help through the process. So if you're a little bit nervous about the public speaking side of things, please don't feel like you have to nail it. Just come prepped with something. and we'll help you get through it. The other thing I would say is if you don't want to put a PowerPoint presentation together, you don't have to. If it's easier for you just to go directly into Salesforce and do it and just talk through a topic, nothing wrong with that. If you want to do a hybrid of both, you can do that as well. So it's really up to you on how best you learn it and how whichever way is easiest for you to be able to present, you're welcome to do it that way. Any questions on that particular part of the process? That makes sense? Okay. All right. Let's see. I think, yes. Also out on that Google Drive is the presentation folder. So if you go into that folder, that's where you'll see any PowerPoint presentation.
I gotta add mine in there.
Yeah, if you
I haven't done that yet.
yeah, if you do create a PowerPoint, then go ahead and just throw it up into that folder as well, so everyone has access. And did all of you get access to it? You did, no issues there? Okay. All right, very good. All right. I think that covers everything on that side. Oh, I did want to talk a little bit more about this spreadsheet. So on here is also a tab for study resources. And as you discover good resources that you think others would find useful, please add those out here on the spreadsheet so that everyone can take advantage of those resources that you uncover. So I've got a few out here that I've ran into as I started putting my presentation together. This certification aid, it looks like it's been around for a long time, but I've not heard of it until I started researching for my topics. And it's actually a pretty decent site.
I agree.
So maybe take some time to look at that. If you're struggling with what do I need to include on my topic, that site kind of outlines it pretty well for you. So it's a nice resource. The Salesforce Chris resource was also another really good one that I ran into. So feel free to add things that you stumble across onto the spreadsheet. And then also, if you have, we have this mock exam questions. One of the things that we will do at the very end, our very last day together, we will go through a Q&A, and I've got built in one of my Salesforce orgs, and it's out on my website as well, a flow that I plug all the questions into with potential answers that we'll just walk through and answer questions and randomly select people who say, okay, Meredith, this is your question. You answer it. And we'll just kind of quiz ourselves at the very last day just to see how well we're ready. So if you have good questions or things that you'd like to add out here, please help with creating those, and we'll use those toward the end of that very last day. All right, any questions? All right, so let's get into the very first presentation then. And I am going to talk to you then about the Salesforce objects. And I'll go ahead and go to present mode. So the object basics that I was identifying is there's a couple things from a terminology standpoint that they seem to hit on, and that is this concept of objects, which I'm sure if we've been in Salesforce at all, we're familiar with what this is, but in essence, that's a database table. They also have the concept of records, which is defined as an occurrence of an object or a row within the object. There's standard objects, which are objects that Salesforce has created. Those are your out-of-the-box solutions like accounts, leads, contacts, opportunities. Those are standard objects. And then the concept of custom objects, which are any table, and they said or relationship that we create. So anything that we create as a brand new object or table is considered to be a custom object. The last piece on here, access to objects is determined by user permissions, access settings, and data sharing model. I wasn't sure exactly where they were going with that. To me, when I think about access, I think more along the lines of profiles, roles, um, org-wide sharing settings, those types of things. So the terminology was a little bit weird here, but that's coming out of their own documentation. So user permissions, access settings, and data model. What I did then for the next slides, so I'm just going to go through some of what I consider to be the core objects of Salesforce. And some of the ones that I chose at the end are not things that they listed as core objects, but I think, to me, I think they should be considered core objects, and you should know them. So a lead represents an individual who could be potentially a customer for a company. I think of them as a business card. So if you've ever consulted with me at all at any one point, if you talk to me about leads, I will use the idea that a lead is a business card. It's somebody that you really don't know that much about yet. It's basic information that you have for a lead. The key features of the lead object is that it does support multiple lead processes. Basically, that means that you could have stages or statuses that a lead goes through, and you could have different statuses based on multiple processes that are available. Processes go through a status and hopefully get to the point of conversion. Converted leads become accounts, contacts, and optionally opportunities. Once they are converted, they are no longer a lead. Once you convert a lead, it will never again be a lead. It will at that point always live as an account and contact. There are auto assignment rules that are available for leads that just determines who becomes the owner of a lead record, and those rules can be determined from a number of different ways. So a lot of times leads might get assigned based off of geography. They might get assigned based off of product interests. So it's all based off of whatever your rules need to be there for assignment rules. A lead can be owned by a user or a queue. There is a concept of a web to lead as well. So if you can create a kind of like a contact us form for your website that will easily create leads in your system for you. And then a lead can belong to multiple campaigns. And the reason I threw that piece out there is that a lot of times leads are managed by your marketing people, and they are nurtured through products like Pardot or the Marketing Cloud, hopefully to get enough interest that they bubble up to where it's worth having a salesperson get a hold of them. So keep that in mind, that leads often are going to be associated to some sort of a campaign and marketing effort. The account object, so we're moving from leads to accounts. So we've converted our lead, and that lead now has an account that represents the organization who is either qualified to do business or is doing business with us. They could also be a competitor, partner, or any other type of business entity. I tend to think of an account as a building or an office. It's a physical location of sorts. Some key features on the account is there is the hierarchy. So there is that parent account field that's on the account object that allows you to create a hierarchy of accounts. So let's say you've got a situation where you have a headquarters and then multiple other locations. You can use that account hierarchy to create that structure. They can be linked to multiple opportunities. So if you sell some goods to a given account, you can sell them goods multiple times. So that's in essence what your opportunity is there for. Logos, news, and automated fields entry is also some features that are part of that account object. And again, if you have questions on any of this, I'm assuming some of this is really basic for those of us who have been in Salesforce for a while, but I don't want to make assumptions either. So if you have questions, feel free to jump in. Contact represents an individual that's associated with an account. Could be an employee, a stakeholder, or a business association. So when I think of a contact, I'm always thinking of them as the people who work in the office or the building. Key features there is that there is also a contact hierarchy. We don't think about it as a hierarchy very often, but there is the reports to field on the contact that does create a hierarchy of people. They can be linked to multiple accounts, which is now a new, well, it's not new, I guess, anymore, but it's recently added. It used to be that we couldn't do this. And there is the account contact relation object now that allows us to link a contact to multiple accounts. Contacts can also be linked to opportunities, and I consider that to be a best practice, that you always link your contacts to your opportunities using the opportunity contact role. The reason I suggest that as a best practice is because that gives me, there's a couple reasons. From the opportunity, I know who the person is I'm talking to. So if for some reason I go away, Carla knows who now to communicate to close out that deal. The second reason is I can see that opportunity either from the account that it's associated with or from that person's record. So it's just, I like it from a visibility standpoint. So I consider that to be a best practice to always link people to your opportunities. Contacts can also be linked to multiple campaigns. Person accounts is one that you're going to want to be familiar with as well on this exam. That's your B2C, so business to consumer model. And what that does is, in essence, is combines both your account and contacts so that they appear to be a common object. They technically are still separate objects in Salesforce. And I suspect if you decide to take the advanced admin, you'll want to understand this particular one in a little bit greater detail. But I suspect that's maybe all that you need to know for now. Think of your persons as consumers for products. So we all go out and we buy things. We would be considered a consumer. And so that would be the business model for person accounts. I will say that I am more a fan of person accounts today than I would have been a few years ago. Salesforce has made some pretty significant advances with person accounts that make this a much more attractive solution. So if you've not explored it or have been kind of that mindset of yuck, person accounts is like avoided at all costs, I would suggest that if you have a business use case for that you might spin up a sandbox and play with it, because it actually, I'm pretty impressed with some of the changes that they've made with that. It's a much more viable solution, I think, today than it was in the past. So key features there is it does require Salesforce to enable it. So it's kind of a joint effort. You actually have to click a box and set up that gives Salesforce permission to then enable it for you. So it's kind of a dual responsibility. Contact fields are then replicated up to the account object. Data is duplicated in both objects, so that's the disadvantage of this particular approach, is that your data storage is in essence doubled. Contact object then becomes transparent. So what that means is if I click on Terry Miller as my contact, it's going to look as if I'm looking at the account tab in Salesforce as opposed to the contact. You cannot actually get to the actual contact tab for me if I am a person account. You're always going to go to the account tab for my contact record. You are, just as a side note, you can still have the traditional account contact model inside of a person account org. It's just a different record type. So you'll have a business, I think they call it business account, is your record type, or individual account record types gives you the person effect. Opportunities represent sales, deals between the customer and the company. I think of them as revenue generating events. So whatever generates revenue, you're going to have an opportunity for. Key features there is that it also has multiple sales processes. So maybe I have different types of products or different, maybe I have different regions. Maybe I'm a worldwide organization, and the sales process is different in Europe than it is here in America. And so I might have different stages that an opportunity goes through. And so that, whoops, sorry. That is an example of where I might have multiple sales processes at play. It mostly is impacting the stages that show up for that particular stage or for that particular process opportunity. Opportunities go through a series of stages to eventually get to close won or lost. We have price books and products that are associated to your opportunities. We also have quotes and team selling capabilities. So team selling would be if Carla and I were both jointly selling a given opportunity, she could be listed there as getting 50% of that commission or the revenue from that, and then I would get the other 50%. And you can adjust those settings with team selling turned on. Any of you used team selling before? Is anybody familiar with it? Okay, Meredith, I see you're shaking your head. Yep, good. And quotes is kind of just like an opportunity almost that hangs off of it. It's you have the ability to have product line items like you would do off of opportunities within quotes. The only difference with the quote is you don't have stages. So if I can build multiple quotes related to that opportunity, and then whichever one the company decides to purchase, that's the one I would sync with the opportunity. And then any of the product line items that are associated to the quote will transfer over to the opportunity to become the line items there, and the dollars and everything adjust accordingly. So one other thing, and I doubt that it'll be on this particular exam, but there is the concept of scheduled products. So if you're, say you are selling products that are going to be delivered over maybe over months. So we'll say it's 6 months. They're going to take delivery of some of it every 6 months. You can do this concept called scheduled products, and that allows you to have the revenue be split accordingly for each of those months. So just another concept there that's available on opportunities. Cases they did not mention in the documentation, but I think that's kind of a key one to know that cases represent your support tickets. They're linked to contacts. The one that I always have customers ask is, I want cases to be linked to leads. And it's like, nope, you can't do it. Cases are linked to contacts. There is also multiple support processes, very similar to leads and opportunities, that allow you to have different statuses for your given cases. They do progress through statuses to close. There is auto assignment rules. They can be owned also by a user or a queue. There's a web to case and email to case capability with that particular object. And then I throw campaigns in there as kind of a core one as well. They represent a grouping of members. I really hate that they call them campaigns. I think that they should just be called lists. That would tend to agree with what most marketing software tend to consider them. It's really just a list of people that you're grouping together, and it can be. I've used them at times in orgs where it can be a marketing effort, but sometimes I'm just using it as a way to group people together for whatever reason. I mean, I might group them together because they are on a given mailing list, or I might group them together because they attended a conference of some sort. So anytime you need to group people together, maybe think about campaigns as an option there. Members can be a lead or a contact. There is the concept of campaign influence on your opportunities, and that's kind of a cool deal because that allows you to calculate your return on investment. So that campaign influence, let's say I create an opportunity and I I have I'm a member of a given campaign that might be out there. Maybe I attended a trade show or something. We can, from that opportunity, make an assumption that because I attended the trade show, that trade show had some form of a influence on me making a purchase. And so that's the concept of campaign influences. And I think that's the last one that I had. All right. So any questions on core objects? Of course, pretty standard stuff, I think. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, Carla, and let you take over.
All right. 1 second. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
That's a new security thing that they did that it's like, I have to enable it now. There you go.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Gotta figure out what screen to do. All right.
There you go.
Okay, move you guys over here. I just have a couple of slides. So my section of the Salesforce fundamentals piece of the study guide was about the boundaries of declarative customization. So it's really about what are the declarative tools, why you would do declarative over programming and that nature. So customizations built with declarative tools are usually faster and cheaper to build. So it doesn't require a developer to build them. Admins can build on the Salesforce platform using declarative tools. They generally require less maintenance, and you don't require a developer to maintain. And then they also receive the automatic upgrades, the tools, as they are improved in the 3 major releases throughout the year that Salesforce provides. So it doesn't require a developer to keep those up to date. So this slide just talks about the reasons why customization is built with declarative tools, or the reasons behind using declarative tools. So that's that. So I was going through this, and common declarative tools, I always think of like Process Builder and Flow. Those are tools that you have. But then I was like, oh, I guess when I was reading through an article, quick actions and page layout customizations, I'll just read through them. But formula fields, roll-up summary fields, validation rules, workflow and approval processes, and even custom fields and objects, they're declarative tools because they're point and click pieces of customization that you can do. Formula fields, validation rules require logic and some programming aspects. You know, there's some syntax that you have to follow in that sort of realm, but they're called low code, but also declarative. So I thought that was pretty cool. It kind of widened my perception of declarative tools outside of just Process Builder and Flow. So just keep that in mind. I never really thought about it that way. And then I have, so when to code. If you have to support specialized or complex business processes that you can't do with either of the processes or tools that I mentioned in the previous slide, if you need to provide highly customized user interfaces or customized click-through paths in the interface, you'll have to use code. And then if you want to connect to or integrate with third-party systems, but even those things are becoming declarative. Salesforce is making it easier to do integrations with third-party systems. So that's even a kind of an iffy statement to say there, but I would say more complex integrations, maybe, when you have to code there. And then I liked the sentence in this sentence, when choosing, you need to consider the problems you're trying to solve and the resources you have available to solve them. So when to code and when not to code. And then I just have some examples or use cases. So I thought these ones were pretty good. I think I found these from that certification aid site that you were talking about, Terry. I hadn't seen that before either when I was doing some Googling on this presentation. So I thought these were pretty good use cases. So if you need to create a new commission record when an opportunity is closed, and the new commission record needs to calculate the compensation for each opportunity team member depending on role, time to close, type, and value of the opportunity. And that's a mouthful of a use case, but if you think about it, because of the complexity, based on the role of the team member, the time to close, type, and value of the opportunity, that would be, I think, very hard to do in either Flow or definitely not Process Builder, I don't think. So just the complexity that would be there, you probably have to use a trigger to get that done. Another one was checking new opportunities to see if they have the highest total value for the current year. And if they do, selecting a checkbox on that new opportunity. So you'll have to compare the new opportunity to all the other opportunities for the year. And you're not really able to do that well, probably, if at all. I know not in Process Builder, maybe Flow, but that might be a stretch. Probably easier to do in a trigger. Just the complexity of comparing a new opportunity to all the other opportunities in your org. And then using radio buttons instead of pick lists would be a UI or a user interface change in a Lightning component, or I don't want to say Visualforce, but maybe. So I thought those are good use cases for programmatic customizations. And if you got a question on the exam about a use case, thinking through kind of how you might do it high level with a declarative tool, and if you see that you probably can't do it with Process Builder or Flow, then knowing that you have to go to Apex or Trigger or something like that. So I think that's all I had, kind of high level. Does anybody have any questions?
We have a very quiet group.
I don't. That's okay.
All good. All good.
I don't know how to stop sharing. There it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So the last one is on AppExchange that I have, and this is also very, very quick, which is good because I actually want to get to know you guys a little bit too. So we'll finish up with maybe having you guys all introduce yourselves, because I don't know if you all even know each other. So and I'll stop recording when we get to that, so you don't have to worry about that being out there. So the last one is the AppExchange, and a couple of the fundamentals here. So what is AppExchange? It's Salesforce's marketplace for pre-built solution that includes apps, Lightning components, flows, and solutions. I think a lot of times we forget that it has those other items out there. We're just used to going there maybe for apps like we would the Apple Store or something like that. It does include multiple other items. So two kinds of listings that you'll see out there are solutions and consultants. So any business partner, any Salesforce partners, they would be listed out there as a consultant, and then any solutions are going to be what we typically think of when we think about AppExchange. That's the apps and everything that's available there. Some general stats. I don't think you're going to have to know this for an exam. I don't think they're going to quiz you on something like this, but just to know some of it's a little bit of the history here. There's over 5,000 solutions out there on the AppExchange. There's over 1,000 consultant listings or partners there. The 6.5 million installs, that's one Salesforce likes to tout at Dreamforce and various presentations that they do. But again, I doubt that you're going to get a question on those things. You might regarding pricing though, because there are free solutions out there. And there is also the ability to try before you buy with some trials. It just, the people presenting solutions out there don't have to give you a trial, but it's frequently seen. And then there's the paid solutions as well. So let's see, is that all I had? That is all I had. So basically with AppExchange, kind of a similar mode to what Carla, you were talking about with the declarative. If you can do it declaratively, do it declaratively. Same is true if you can buy the app or you can get it for free off of AppExchange. Why reinvent the wheel? Just go out there and find those pre-built solutions, especially if you don't have a developer who you can turn to create things for you. Often you can leverage those resources out on AppExchange. So good use of that tool. All right, and with that, that is all we have from the presentation side. So I am going to stop recording and stop sharing here as well. And let's